Welcome, Warlords, to Saga Thursday, your weekly Saga miniature games source. I'm here with Andy Lyons. How's it going, man?
Good, thanks.
Good to see you. So you have generously stepped up to help out with the Saracens battle board review.
Yeah.
I see you shaking your head. I don't know what you're in for.
How many straws were you holding?
Well, that's classified information. I can't divulge that, but these guys are interesting. Now, I know you've played these at least in one event, and I'm assuming probably a few other games besides. Is that correct?
I think I've played them in 3 tournaments now, yeah. So the thing is, they're a beautiful army, and the Gripping Beast figures are really good. Some of the better ones that they have. And you spend that much time painting them. You want to get them on the table, and then you realise that the battle board's not the best.
You realise why you haven't played against anybody running them at any events. So
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree about the figures and the paint schemes that you can do on these guys with the colors and everything. The Dark Ages stuff, you can make it colorful if you want, but these guys, I think, really, with the Eastern influence, you can do some cool paint jobs and everything. So we're going to get right into it with setting the scene just with the army list options. So I see already the Warlord is mounted, no options there. It's going to be one of those war bands. The Hearth Guards are also mounted, no options, but they can have bows or no bows. So
making it sound negative, but the Saracens actually got a lot of options. When you're setting your troops up on the table, you'll find that you've got more options than sometimes you know what to do with. Mounted, your warriors can be mounted with bows or foot.
Yeah, so the warriors, can be mounted with bows, mounted, or just on foot. And it looks like your levies are armed with bows, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Got a little nice option for those guys. So in the UK, now I was talking with Hamza and the Swedish guys, the convention there is you can switch up your equipment before the game starts. Is that how you guys play, or do you when you...
Yeah, every tournament's different, and every tournament organizer's got his favorite way. If time's tight on a one-day tournament and you're trying to get 4 games in, they'll make a fixed list so that you're not spending more time deploying your troops, and you've got more, that time limit that you've got is spent playing the turns out rather than setting the game up. So, but generally we get in the UK most of the time a 7-point list, and you pick 6 points for each game, and then when you deploy them on the table, you give them their options then.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. I think it adds some flexibility to some of these lists. So
if you play Vikings every week, you've got no options. So it's,
yeah.
But for armies Saracens, it's that's when you see who you're playing against and what the scenario is, and put the troops on the table according to that.
Yeah, so also just encourages picking up a large selection of models too. I think is pretty cool. So getting a nice big force. So, okay, so we got the Hearthguard Warlords mounted. The Warriors can be as you like. So let's take a look at the battle board itself. So I'm seeing, looks like the 3 usual activations, the usual activation pool, and then the combat pool. Looks like you got the full run of options there between melee, shooting, and shooting reaction.
Yep, you've no limitations on.
Yeah, nothing special there. So, but given the troop types, it seems the combat pool kind of aligns with that. So,
nothing fancy, but at least you've got attack and defense dice.
Well, I'm going to kick it off here with piercing shots. Looks like you can use a common or a rare dice on this one, or is that an uncommon?
It's uncommon. The sword is...
Okay, got it. So this is a shooting ability. If your unit is within medium of its target, it gains a +1 bonus to all its attack dice.
When you're going after Hearthguard, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So shooting a Hearthguard or a Warlord, you're really going to be able to do some damage there. I guess the key there is it has to be within medium of its target. So even though your missile weapon is bows, so you're going to be shooting at long, you're going to have this little enticement to move up here. So
yeah, that's only one model needs to be within medium. So the whole unit doesn't have to be within medium, like a javelin. So long as one model of the unit is in medium, you get the bonus for the unit.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thing to point out. Looks like there's a couple, at least one other shooting ability. So you could potentially stack this with some of that?
Yeah, this piercing shots is one of the better abilities on the board. So for an uncommon dice, this is, if you've got a good missile unit, this is a go-to ability every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a big Hearthguard. 12 shots coming at you with +1 dice. You can do some damage there, and the +1 makes shooting at a Warlord a viable option somewhat, 6s to 5s.
Yeah, normally shooting a Warlord is a no-no, but this makes it worth a go.
Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to, just having this ability, they're going to have to be a little more careful, I think, about where their Warlord is. You know, sometimes you just kind of disregard the shooting aspect of the game with your Warlord. But if you have a chance, you can make a go for it if they just leave one or two little schmoes within short of him. So, okay.
Yeah, and your shooters are mobile shooters as well. He's got to be extra careful where he keeps his Warlord.
Mm-hmm. So, cool. Yeah, great ability. I like it. And then it has that kind of additional effect of messing with the opponent, which is very cool. Okay. Do you want to go down to Saracen's trick there?
Yeah, this one's an activation reaction. So when your opponent activates a unit, you can then kick in with this one. This is an uncommon dice, and use this ability when a mounted enemy unit is activated for a movement. Before the movement is resolved, the unit must either move as close as possible to the closest of your mounted troops, engaging in melee if possible, or it must take 2 fatigues and cancel the activation. Now, if you've got a situation where you've moved up and shot your 8-man bow-armed Hearthguard unit, and he's going to come now in and retaliate and hit you back and give you some pain back, you've got your little mounted bard stuck out on the side there, closer to his unit than your unit is, he's going to have to charge the bard or cancel his activation. So what you want to do is you want to use this to protect your weaker troops. So either you can have a nice strong Hearthguard unit that he's got to charge into that are sat there waiting for him, or you can divert him off to a weak unit that he doesn't particularly want to go for anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. Looks like some of the key things here is it has to be a mounted enemy unit.
Yep.
Okay. So
it's mounted, so his mounted unit goes for your nearest mounted unit.
Okay.
So you can't divert him off into your levy or into a little 4-man warrior unit that are a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but again, mounted unit, his Warlord might be mounted, so he might charge his Warlord into your unit.
Yeah, not too shabby. If you're playing like a Scottish list where everybody's on foot except the Warlord, it could be useful. All right, so yeah, the usefulness will obviously vary depending on the warbands you're playing against, but
that's right. There's quite a lot of so if you're playing Anglo-Danes or Vikings or Young's Vikings, any dice you put on there, you've just thrown away.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, against those mounted warbands, then it is nice to have something that can mess with their movement.
Yeah, well, it makes them think twice, and they might have to put extra dice on things they don't want to put them on, just in case you play this one. So,
okay, good deal. Nice little trick there. I'm going to go down to Rise of the Crescent. This is a common or uncommon dice. It's an activation ability. Designate 3 of your units. Your opponent chooses 1 to take 1 fatigue, and the other 2 are activated, and these activations do not generate fatigue. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't think you get a lot of use out of this one. Because it generally picks the unit that you most wanted to move to cancel.
Yes.
So again, it's if you've got a lot of things to do and not many dice left towards the end of the game, you might get 2 units off that it gets something useful done. But generally, it's a bit of a negative because the unit you want most to activate is the one that's going to get nailed.
Yeah, so the best thing would have 3 units that he doesn't want to be activated. So that's kind of tough to do.
You've got 3 smallish units of warriors, all with no fatigue and all within 12 inches of his mounted Hearthguard unit, and each of them's got a little Nafferton sat inside it. 2 of them are going to get in.
Yeah, that's true. So
there are always situations when an ability will be super useful, rare as they are.
Okay, but during the course of your games, you find that this one doesn't seem to be high on the priority.
With the dice.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I know there is some utility there with 2 activations for a single common dice. It's going to be decent.
And those activations don't get any fatigue. So if you've moved a couple of units up once, and he doesn't know which one he's going to strike, you're going to get at least one of them in. With no fatigue. So it's a double long move for your cavalry, or a double medium move for your Nafferton unit or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think combining this with some shooters could be decent. Usually with the shooting, you need multiple activations to really saturate a target. So looks like there's some potential there.
This is an activation. It's not just a movement. It doesn't say activate for a movement. It says activate the units. So you can move them up with one move and then fire with no fatigue.
Decent.
Yeah. If he lets you have that unit as the one that...
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you want to move down to the Prophet's Curse here? Okay.
This is one of the more useful abilities on the Saracen board. And something we haven't mentioned yet is the Saracen warband. It's a bit of a gambler's warband.
The shtick. Yeah.
So if there's any Kenny Rogers hanging around, you roll a d6 on this one. It's a melee, a shooting, or a shooting reaction. So you can use it in attack as a shooting or as a shooting defense. So roll a d6 and designate one enemy unit. Any attack or defense dice, and it's your option to choose which, rolled by that unit, which results in a score equal to the number you rolled on your d6, is ignored and has no effect. So the gambling element is if you roll a 1, 2 or a 3, that's generally not going to make any effect on his dice rolls. If you roll a 4, 5 or a 6, any of those results he rolls. So if he's in melee with you against a unit of warriors needing 4 to hit, and you've rolled a 4, any of his 4s don't hit. Likewise, if you roll a 6, any 6s he rolls don't hit either. It's a gambling thing. So you're gambling one common dice on a 50% chance of getting something useful.
Okay, so I think this might be a good time to mention, you said something about a FAQ before we were recording here. So can you kind of explain that a little bit?
At the start of a game, because there's 3 or 4 gambling abilities on this board, and if you're not having a good dice day, it can really ruin your game completely. But bear in mind, on a d6 you can roll a 1 right through to a 6, so you've got extremes of low and high dice rolls. There's something you can do now called Allah's Blessing, and if you invoke Allah's Blessing at the start of a game, any of these abilities where you would normally roll a d6 to gamble or multiple d6 to gamble, what instead is you choose that the dice results will be either a 3 or a 4. So for the Prophet's Curse, we can choose a 3 or a 4 as the result of our d6. So we would choose a 4 in the example that we gave earlier, where he's attacking your warriors. Or what's a good thing to do with it is if you use it in shooting, or and choose a 4, his defense dice that roll 4s don't save. So you only save on 5s and 6s, and that's where I probably get the most use out of it. In its basic form without any modifications, which we'll get to later on. So you can choose the results of the dice to be a 3 or a 4 without rolling them if you invoke Allah's Blessing. what that also means is you have to use that for the whole game. So in some of the other abilities where it's the difference between 2 dice, the difference is only ever going to be 1, because you can only have a 3 or a 4.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to stick to the gambling element and try your luck, if you've got some good dice, you can roll a 1 and a 6 and the difference is 5. So you've got more of a spread for the ability. But to play safe, Allah's blessing will mean that you never have to gamble. You've always got a result.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there's going to be, you're already banking on some dice rolls when you're playing Saga. Anyways, I mean, you have the element with the Saga dice, and then you're just rolling so few dice anyways that you can get some really lucky results from time to time. And then on top of that, you're adding all the Saracen gambling abilities, so you can really have some interesting games. But if you want to take out that last step, you have the option for Allah's blessing here. So it sounds like you usually go for that to more predictability, or
I've tended to. At least you know you're going to get something for the Saga dice that you're spending on the ability. I mean, you can rack three Saga abilities up that are gambling abilities and end up with no benefit at all from them, and that's half of your dice for the turn. Which,
when everything's said and done, you're getting nothing.
You need to get something out of everything you do.
Okay, we'll have to take a look at these then as we go through them. I'm
Yeah,
assuming there's a few where you could, you know, if you give a 6 and a 1, and you could just wipe some out. But okay, yeah, we'll have to keep that in mind then as we continue to go through these.
The Studio Tomahawk forum in the Stronghold, and the downloads for the FAQs are in there. All the rules are in the FAQ.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Some folks
For
might
the next
not
week until the book comes out. Yeah, for next.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to pop up to Omens there. We're in the middle column now. This is a common dice in the orders reaction phase. You can use it in your turn or the enemy's turn. Choose a symbol from your Saga dice. So one of the 3 there, and roll up to 4 of your unused Saga dice. So those are the Saga dice just sitting that you haven't rolled up. Okay. Any die that has the symbol you chose may immediately be placed on your battle board. The other Saga dice are returned to your pool. Okay, cool. So obviously if you pick commons, you probably aren't going to be using it on useful abilities necessarily, but you have more chances of getting those, so it's a little safer. And then you know, if you go for the rare, I guess you have a 4 and 6 chance of getting one. So yeah, that's practically guaranteed in my book of Rush. Okay, this is cool. So choose a symbol.
I use this more in the other player's turn than I do in my own. So you can use it as an orders ability in your own turn, or an orders reaction in your opponent's turn. Remember that you can play each ability only once per turn off your battle board. So if you've played the Prophet's Curse, the previous ability we just discussed, in your turn, and then you do Omens as an orders reaction in your opponent's turn, you can load up the Prophet's Curse again and use it again in his turn if you roll the scimitar symbol. Mm-hmm. So you can get a double bubble for Prophet's Curse by loading it up when you've rolled your Omens dice.
Okay, yeah, so that seems cool. Look, I see other reaction abilities, orders reaction type stuff on their board too here, and some more melee shooting stuff. So yeah, I think the most bang for your buck is going to be in the opponent's turn. On your turn, it could be kind of like a second activation pool type thing, but for most of the game, you're not going to have 4 unused Saga dice after you roll, and unless this is turns 5 or 6. When you're down to just your warlord and a unit or 2. But yeah, that seems cool. I agree. The reaction ability is cool.
You seem to get more benefit from it in your opponent's turn.
Mm-hmm. And then the orders reaction abilities, you can use these basically when they're done allocating all their dice. You can say, hold on, I want to use, so you can kind of see what they're going to do. I don't know if they'll make much of a difference, but at least you can kind of see what their plan may be before you allocate some of your dice. So that could make a difference there. So
Definitely.
yeah, good points there. Looks solid. I like it. All
Yeah,
right.
it's a good way to get some extra dice on the board for your opponent's turn, because if you've blown all your dice in your own turn, you know, you're left pretty open. So this will, even if you roll something and stick it in the combat pool, at least it's got your 1 or 2 dice, and you should get. If you go for the common symbol, you should get 1.
Okay. So do you usually go for the commons, or some turns will you bank on an uncommon or something?
Your own turn, because if you've rolled all common dice in your own turn, and you need an uncommon for an ability, like the Saracens trick or something situational, or you're building up one of the other 2 dice abilities that are coming later on, you might half build up the ability in your turn and then finish it off with dice from omens in your opponent's turn.
It's a bit of a gamble. I don't know.
Oh yes.
All right, so another gambling type ability. Very fun.
Gambling without rolling the d6 gambling. So this you can't affect with Allah's blessing.
Okay. Do you want to do visions?
Yeah. So again, this is orders or orders reaction. When you trigger this ability, it's an uncommon dice, and you put a fatigue on your warlord. So until the end of the current turn, and the current turn is whichever player's turn that is, each time 1 or more d6 are rolled to determine the effects of one of your Saga abilities, you may add or subtract 1 from the score of one of the dice. So for the Prophet's Curse now, going back to as a melee ability, remember, if we've done Allah's Blessing, we can decide that that's going to be a 3 or a 4. If we choose a 4, modify it to a 5. So if we're engaged in melee with his units, we can cancel 5s off his saving throws. So he'll only save on 6.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, that's modifying things. But again, we can only choose it to be 3 or a 4, and we can modify it by 1. Some of the 2 dice abilities, we can only modify 1 of them, not both. So it kind of makes a little bit for having that narrow gap between 2 dice when you're doing Allah's Blessing. If, however, you're sticking with the gambling side and doing the board as it originally was and rolling the d6, at least you've got a modifier to kick it up or down by 1.
Yeah. It's too bad that Warlord has to take a fatigue for this. Because if you're going for the gambling aspect, it almost seems like you a must-use ability based off that. But okay, we shall see.
Yeah,
and we get to a few more.
I mean, sometimes you'll roll too many uncommon dice and you don't know what to do with them. That's one of the better places to put it, after you've played piercing shots, of course.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll see how that works. The next 4, it looks like, are the all roll 2d6 ones. So
yeah,
we're gonna see the board in all its glory here shortly.
all its shortcomings will soon be revealed.
And that was where we're going to call part 1 of our Saracens battle board review. So thanks to Andy so far. If you have any questions or comments about what you've heard so far, please post below and we'll get a response on that. We'll figure it out for you. Otherwise, check back next week for part 2.
Saga!